Release of ex-President Samuel Kando and it, former First Lady Nancy Igbo to come to Rancho the County. I, the government of Liberia for final funeral and burial activities. At long last, the Supreme Court of Liberia says it lied first, as it did for legal documents of former Finance Minister Samuel Tue and four other former top government officials over 6 million United States dollars and billions of Liberian dollars corruption case. Away from Liberia, at least 8 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured in Kenya, where this anti-government protest rights group said. And at least 46 people waiting for aid have been killed by the Israeli fire in 2 incidents in central and southern Gaza to rescuers and hospitals. These plus the news bulletin, our international broadcast, our package, our digital shortcut to be recorded. Thanks for joining us at this juncture. We crossed over the same Andrews with the news bulletin.
Ahead of retirement, Chief Justice Sanin Yo has vehemently rejected media reports suggesting that President Joseph Boakai might end her legal stay at the judiciary immediately this Thursday, June 26. Chief Justice Yo 3 years tenure at the judiciary is expected to end this Thursday, which marked her retirement age of 70, consistent with Article 72B of the 1986 Constitution. The law states the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court and judges of the subordinate courts of record shall be retired at the age of 70. It further states a justice and associates of the Supreme Court may continue in office for as long as may be necessary to enable him render judgment or perform any other judicial duty in regard to proceedings entertained by him or her before he attained that age. Despite this legal provision, Chief Justice Sanin Yul said that she would not relinquish power on June 26. Chief Justice Yul maintained that no one will push her out of the judiciary until she closed the Supreme Court in August, meaning her exit is in August. Our judicial correspondent said the priest of the High Court made the statement during a gathering recently with circuit court judges and magistrates across the country. Prior to her account, there has been report that President Joseph Walker may not extend to Justice Shannon Yo's stay at the Supreme Court beyond her retirement age. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has finally assigned former Finance Minister Samuel Toy and four others corruption case for legal argument following a 4 month delay. According to our judicial correspondent, the High Court's decision was communicated through a notice of assignment to the parties' lawyers. The court's June 24th notice of assignment is demanding the parties' lawyers to appear on July 1 at 11 a.m. before the full bench for argument. However, the High Court's legal assignment is coming at a time when Chief Justice Shannon Yo has reached her retirement age of 70 as provided for by Article 72B of the Constitution. Prior to the court's decision, Associate Justice Yannick Clinton Johnson stopped defendant Twe and others' corruption case at Criminal Court C after the defendant's lawyer, Councillor Arthur Johnson, filed a petition for a writ of prohibition. Councillor Johnson's request to the High Court questioned prosecuting lawyers' indictment, saying that his clients were wrongfully implicated to allegedly stealing over 6 million United States dollars and billions of Liberian dollars. Councillor Johnson argued that his client's action regarding the amount were under the instruction of former President George Weah and the National Security Council, contrary to state lawyers' indictment on ground they are immune from prosecution as provided by Article 61 of the Constitution. The remains of ex-President Samuel Doe and his wife, Nancy Doe, Wednesday, were lie in state at the Centennial Pavilion in Monrovia. Following the ceremony, the bodies were escorted by personnel of the Armed Forces of Liberia to Grand Judy County, where activities surrounding the funeral and burial will take place. On Tuesday, several prominent Liberians, including former President George Weah, President Joseph Walker, and current and former government officials visited the pavilion to sign the Book of Condolence. The president of the Trade Union and Civil Society Institutions of Liberia has called on President Joseph Walker to immediately dismiss Labor Minister Councillor Cooper Cra. The executive director of the organization, Jefferson Knight, argued that the labor minister has failed to ascertain the nature of the jobs given to some foreigners who are seeking work permits. During a press conference in Monrovia, Jefferson Knight also called on the legislature to pass a vote of no confidence in Minister Cooper Cra as labor minister for failing to protect jobs and for Liberians. According to him, the Ministry of Labor is not supposed to be giving work permits to foreigners who come in the country to do jobs exclusively for Liberians. The Ministry of Labor has revoked the permits of 19 foreign nationals following an extensive inspection of businesses across Monrovia and surrounding areas as a means of strict enforcement of Liberia's labor laws. Labor Minister Cooper Cry, addressing a press conference Wednesday at his Congo Town office, noted that the 19 nationals violated the country's work permit law. He stated that during their ongoing nationwide process, the Ministry of Labor inspectors inspected 21 businesses and discovered that 19 foreign nationals were not working in the roles for which their permits were approved. The labor minister said the companies were given the opportunity to explain discrepancies found during the inspection, but failed to provide satisfactory justifications, resulting in the immediate revocation of the work permit. He expressed particular concern about the growing trend of job labor representation, a practice that undermines the labor system and restricts opportunities for qualified Liberians. Stay at the labor ministry, the minister said work permits are not positions for Liberians to apply for, but rather legal documents given as rights for foreigners to work in the country. He said most of the work permits are requested by some concession companies, ministries, and agencies and bureaus so as to give rights to foreigners to do certain jobs in Liberia. Addressing the press conference in Congo Town Wednesday, Minister Kupokra added that in recent times, the Ministry of Public Works and the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission have asked the ministry for work permits for individuals to do some jobs. The labor minister is encouraging Liberians against believing the notion that the Ministry of Labor is giving jobs that Liberians can do to foreigners. In recent times, Councillor Kopokra has been under massive criticism for issuing over 10,000 work permits to foreigners. The U.S. Embassy near Monrovia has issued a directive requiring applicants for FMNJ non-immigrant visas, including international students, exchange visitors, and vocational trainings, to make all their social media profile public. The measure, according to the U.S. Embassy, takes immediate effect and is geared towards supporting identity verification and enhanced vetting processes. The U.S. Embassy statement added that the change is intended to establish identity and admissibility to the United States under U.S. laws, stating that open access to online activity will streamline background checks and strengthen national security. According to the statement, applicants must affirm on a penalty of perjury that all information provided in their DS 160 application, including social media data, is complete and accurate. Failure to fully disclose the information could result in immediate visa denial and render applicants ineligible for future visas. The FM and J visa categories have long served as gateways for international scholars and students. Broom County Anthony Jonathan Flomo has warned against what he described as Liberia's growing vulnerability to the international drug network and the devastating impact it has on the country's youthful population. Speaking at a public gathering in Banga, Anthony at Lord Flomo called for a coordinated national effort to protect the country from becoming a permanent fixture on global drug trafficking map, adding a drug crisis is a global war with local casualties. According to him, West African countries, including Liberia, are becoming a major transit point for drug cartels, which are into moving narcotics from South Africa to Asia, Europe, and North America. He further argued that Liberia's weak border control and under-resourced security infrastructure has resulted to the country being used as an attractive corridor for international traffickers. Mr. Flomo noted that a 2015 study showed that at least a quarter of illicit drugs entering from Europe pass through West Africa, with Liberia increasingly implicated as a transit and a destination country. He emphasized that the first use of drugs is often the gateway to lifetime struggle with addiction, impairing decision making, and robbing young people of their future. And InfoQuest Liberia, a civil society organization, has launched its third quarter report on gender sensitivity legislative monitoring project, revealing women remain significantly underrepresented not just in numbers, but also in voice and influence. Speaking Wednesday in Cinco, InfoQuest Liberia Executive Director Matthias Yene termed the report as a significant milestone in the organization's ongoing effort to promote inclusive governance and legislative accountability in Liberia. The comprehensive report covers activities in the House of Representatives from January to March 2025. Also, reading some of the recommendations from the report, InfoQuest Liberia Boss recommended integration of sound language within an existing tertiary institutions, including the University of Liberia, to ensure inclusivity, recognition, and access, especially for girls and women with hearing impairment.
Sam, aren't you with the news bulletin? News bulletin is a regular feature here at News. What if you just joined us this afternoon? Just remember to listen to this 145 minute news presentation about like Africa and the rest of the world this afternoon. Chief Justice and the youth for the last 70 years. His first John 26, marking the constitutional time of age, but without another language power until the closure of the Supreme Court in August. In the midst of ex-President Samba Kayando, a late former first lady Nancy Dorothy to come to 19 county by the government of Liberia to find out failure and failure activities. At long last, the Supreme Court of Liberia states July 1st as it did for legal argument of former Finance Minister Samuel Tuer and four other top government officials over 6 billion United States dollars and billions of Nigerian dollars corruption case. And away from Liberia, at least 8 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured in Kenya when state anti-government protests rise said. At least 46 people waiting for aid have been killed by Israeli fire in two incidents in central and southern Gaza, according to rescuers and hospitals. The people will come back bringing voices of the Now, first development here this afternoon, the release of ex-president Samuel Kanyando and his wife, the late former First Lady Nancy on Wednesday, were live in the state at the historic Centennial Pavilion in Monrovia. Following the ceremony, the bodies were escorted by personnel of the Armed Forces of Liberia to Nigeria County, where activities surrounding final funeral and burial activities will take place. On Tuesday, June 24th, several prominent Liberians, including former President George William President Joseph Walker, including current and former government officials, visited the pavilion to sign the Book of Condolences in honor of the former first family. Meanwhile, many Liberians have described the state ceremony as a significant moment of national reflection and closure following decades after the tragic end of the President Samuel Kanyando presidency in 1990.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Peter, up. What's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, fine. Welcome. Yeah, you try to still a relationship with the family? Like, mine is like, I don't have much to really talk to family, but I am a Nigerian. Okay, so how do you feel today? I feel very fine to be able to see the era and the bearer of our late fallen heroes from the Anadolu. So I think today is a history movement in Grand Jida County and Grand Jida Land. Thank you very much. Today is a good day for us. So we'll be late to rest and we are departing for Grand We will enter Grand Jida tonight. Tomorrow the keeping stars. And therefore tomorrow funeral services and it's expected that the president of the Republic
Of Liberians, President about of former Liberian President Samuel Nancy. The Ministry of Labor has reported about permits of maintained foreign nationals following an extensive inspection of businesses across the surrounding areas as a means of strict enforcement of Liberia's labor laws. Labour Minister Councillor Cooper crowded in a press conference Wednesday at his office in Congo Town noted that 19 foreign nationals have violated the country's work permits law. It stated that during their ongoing nationwide process, the Ministry of Labour inspectors have inspected 21 businesses and discovered that 19 foreign nationals were not working in the rules for which their permits were approved. The Labour Minister said the companies were given the opportunity to explain discrepancies found during the inspection but failed to provide satisfactory justifications, resulting in the immediate revocation of their work permits.
for the exercises we have done in our areas for the past week. We've covered few by number of businesses. Some are in compliance, some we determine that there are a couple of violations. So what we did last week, when those reports are brought to us, we will write the company, maybe to see if there are justification for the misinformation they have on the application. But those that we have dealt with, we were convinced that they did not have any justification to have given us different information on their application. And then in reality, apparently the employee is doing something different. We checked the total of 21 businesses around Monrovia, and we determined from the different employees, we determined that 19 employees work permit will be revoked as of tomorrow. As of this press conference, we're ordering the revocation of 19 aliens work permit. The letter will go out tomorrow. We will also inform the immigration service that these individuals' work permit have been revoked and they cannot legally work in Liberia. We will be asking the immigration service to equally revoke their resident permit so that they cannot be in Liberia. Otherwise, they'll be illegal. They'll be in Liberia. They'll be part of being here will be illegal. We are working along with Liberia immigration, and the exercise is very important. The United Motor Corporation is located in Valentine. We are revoking two persons of work permit from there. One, I need Kuma, but we'll give you the document. I mean Kuma, and then Casimiro Hasbly, which was we a manager, but we later found out that he's doing something called software specialist. These are jobs that you could have something like that. If you have come to us for this kind of job, that will ask you to advertise a job for Liberian participation. Those are the issues. There you have another company called PC and Sons. It's in Valentine. We are revoking one, two, three persons from there. And one Sony Chani, which will be a branch manager, but then he applied as a branch manager, but now he's a salesman. I think that is misrepresentation. There's another person called Prakash Mawa. He also applied as a branch manager, but he's a salesman. There are another person who also there are two persons who apply in this through this company as branch manager, but they are salesmen in the store. That is wrong. And we have another one you see on the list. There is another area where someone applies to their manager or their office boy. These are the kind of thing we're looking at. We try to be transparent about it as much as possible.
At the same time, Labour Minister Cooper says work permits are not positions for Liberians to apply for, but rather legal documents given as rights for foreigners to work in the country. He said most of the work permits are requested by some concession companies, ministries, agencies, and bureaus so as to give rights to foreigners to do certain jobs in the country. Addressing a press conference in Congotown on Wednesday, Minister Khan added that in recent times the Minister of Public Works and the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission have asked the Ministry for work permits for individuals to do some jobs.
Work permit is the authorization that the government will give to a foreigner who wants to work in your economy, in your country. Everywhere in the world, if you went to the US, if you want to work, you need work permit to go look for a job. If you want to look for a job in the city or has to wait a work permit, then there has to be authorization for you to work. The same thing in Liberia. People who want to come and work in Liberia, they will come to the ministry. There is that authorization that we give to people to go and look for work. There are instances where companies are operating here already. They want certain expertise. They will also write the ministry and say, okay, we want to bring 2-3% geologists, also specialized skills to bring them to Liberia, and then they will come also with their work permit. The LRRC, they have refugees that come to this country. They take care of them. Normally, when refugees are here, they have a right to work. They will also come and give them the work permit. When Ministry of Public Works issue or has contact with these road construction companies, road construction companies are allowed to also bring some engineers and other people to work for them to fulfill those projects for government. When they bring those people, our work will write a letter and we issue work permit for them before they can work here. So the work permit have all of the different forms. That includes even UN workers, people who work at different embassies, medical staff, so the foreign medical staff that come to work here at JFK or other places, you have to give their work permit. So this is just a foundation. Liberians not need work permit to look for job in Liberia.
Labour Minister Councillor Cooper Crown. One county attorney Councillor Jonathan Fomo has warned against what he described as Liberia's growing vulnerability to international drug networks and the devastating impact it has on the nation's youthful population. Speaking at the public gathering in Bangabon County, has become a call for a coordinated international effort to protect the country from becoming a permanent feature on the global drug trafficking map, adding that the drug crisis is a global war with local casualties. According to him, West African countries, including Liberia are becoming a major transit point for drug cartels, which are into moving narcotics from South America and Asia to Europe and North America.
The issue of drug is a worldwide threat. Menace has become what we refer to as menace. If you read the statistics on drugs, whether they be small, in fact, beginning an independent report, West Africa Commission on Drugs cited that West Africa is a new hub of global drug traffickers. According to the same report, the region is being used as a conduit for transnational organized crime, where collaborated drug cartels and their local partners transport illicit drugs produced by South America and Asia to Europe and North America for local consumption. So what happens is that they produce these harmful drugs in South America, in Asia, and their target is USA, North America, Canada, and Europe. And they will pass that drug sometimes in Nigeria, sometimes in Gambia, sometimes in Senegal, in the West African region, because our security is not very tight, obviously. So they use our countries as conduit to transport drugs to their destination. So, meanwhile, the United States of America reported particularly high overdose of death rate, averaging from 1.7 deaths per 100,000. So the drug issue is not only affected or related to Liberia. Obviously, as the report are there, statistics are there that the issue of drug is affecting every nation, almost every nation in this world. Drug abuse is on the rise in Africa, particularly cannabis. It's particularly high, cannabis, opium, and a recent surge in psychiatric drugs like tramadol. The continent's drug trade is compounded by its role as a transit route for drug trafficking between Latin America, Europe, and Asia. West Africa being a region within this continent is also experiencing an illicit drug. Target you, that's why you see the disadvantaged youth that we refer to as Zogos, they are on the
I think that Customer noted that 2025 study showed that at least a quarter of the illicit drugs entering passed through West Africa was likely implicated as a transit and destination country. He emphasized that the first use of drugs is often the gateway to lifestyle struggle, with addiction impairing decision making and robbing young people of their futures. Meanwhile, the Brown County Attorney laid out a 5-point strategy for national response to the crisis, including community education awareness, grassroots education campaigns to debunk myths, promote awareness, and help communities understand the dangers of drug use.
we must empower our youth with the truth about drug through schools, media, churches, and mosques. We must go out and inform our youth. And I'm very apologetic today for the drug students. We brought our youth, telling them about the harmful effects of the drugs. Then another way to fight the drug is to rehabilitate and support drug users. We people drug is a victimless crime. So when you are taking drug, you are victimizing yourself. So except when you take the drug and go harm somebody, that person becomes a victim of your crime. So you must rehabilitate you. If you want to minimize the effect of drugs. Another way is stronger community work. We have to empower our teams, our local leaders, youth leaders, and every citizen to be able to report the issue of drug in the community. It's sad also that Y estaba allá, yo no veo no va que tú yo no antes you go back there. You can see people smoking coke. How you will not say it, or you feel that when you say it, the guy will come back and not do nothing because when people go to jail, the next day you can see them coming back. That is the issue. Nothing there has to be strong on the brother. Very strong.
One county attorney constantly to be done for more. The president of the Trade Union and Civil Society Institutions of Liberia has called on President Joseph Boakai to immediately dismiss Labour Minister Councillor Brown. The executive director of the organization, Jefferson Knight, argued that the Labour Minister has failed to assessment to the nature of the jobs given some foreigners who were seeking work permits. During the press conference in Bolivia, NAC also called on the national legislature to pass a vote of no confidence in Councillor Crown as Labour Minister for failing to protect jobs in informal events.
The civil society and trade union institutions of Liberia is appalled, is disappointed, it is disheartening, and very frustrating when it comes to the labor sector of our country, especially the manner and form in which things are proceeding. We issue a statement condemning the action on the part of the Minister of Labor, Councillor Coco about the issuance of work permits, works that Liberians are capable of doing. It's a gross disregard, it's a gross disrespect, it's undermining, and that is evil at the highest echelon of power for a certain minister of government to sell permits to foreign nationals at the disproportion of Liberians. This is unfair. We call on the President Joseph Newman Boakai, to fire this minister. He's not in the interest of the Liberian people. Our children, our women, our girls, our family members, Liberians, young, intelligent, are graduating from universities all around with degrees, accounting degree, managerial degrees, and what have you. They are qualified. And these are some of the jobs and that these foreigners are doing to cook food and what have you. This is evil. That you will sit and claim that, oh, we are creating jobs. This is unfair. And I think it is about time that the president take the action, but not just to suspend, but investigate this minister, Copper, and ensure that the right things are done when it comes to the labor sector, because we cannot have the unemployment rate so high. Nigerians graduating, young men and women graduating from universities and can't afford jobs. But here we have these other foreign nationals, Indians, Lebanese, and Turkish, Chinese, are doing jobs that Liberians are capable of doing. This is wrong. And we condemn such action, and we think it's about time that Minister Cooper Cryer leaves that position.
He is the president of the Trade Union and Civil Society Institutions of Liberia, Jefferson Knight. Well, we stand half past the hour. We just joined us. A reminder you listen to King's News Run, the 45 minutes news presentation by Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. News the following this afternoon. If Justice Yana, your final chance, say the yes. This Thursday, June 26, marking the constitutional retirement age of Brown, now to be in English power until the closure of the Supreme Court in August. The release of ex-President Samuel Kanu and late former President Nancy Pelosi taken the bench in the county of the friend of Liberia for final funeral and burial. But nonetheless, the Supreme Court of Liberia says July 1st as a date for legal argument of former Finance Minister Samuel Twe and four other top government officials over $6 billion United States dollars and billions of Liberian dollars corruption. From Liberia, at least 2 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured. And Kenya wants to anti-government protest rise. Said at least 46 people waiting for aid have been killed by Israeli fire into incidents in Central and South Sudan, according to rescuers and hospitals. Until the next short break, come back with continuation. Info, InfoQuest Liberia, civil society organization, has officially launched its third quarter report on gender-sensitive legislative monitoring project, revealing women women remain significantly underrepresented, not just in numbers, but also in voice and influence. Speaking, one study single InfoQuest Liberia's executive director Matthias Yende termed the report as a significant milestone in the organization's ongoing efforts to promote inclusive governance and legislative accountability in Liberia. The comprehensive report covers activities in the House of Representatives from January to March 2025.
Using highlights from our third quarter report on gender-sensitive legislative monitoring covering activities in the House of Representatives from January to March 2025. This report represents a significant milestone in our ongoing efforts to promote inclusive governance and legislative accountability in Liberia. With the generous support of the Embassy of Ireland in Liberia, our team has diligently monitored legislative activities through a gender-sensitive lens. Members of the press, during this period, InfoQuest formalized partnership with key actors in the national legislature, including the Office of the Speaker and relevant committee chairpersons. Our trained, gender-balanced monitoring team gained access to plenary sections, allowing us to track participation, representation, and the gender dynamics of legislative debates in real time. We are particularly proud to announce the completion of a comprehensive digital platform scheduled for public launch this June. This platform will provide real-time tracking of legislative processes, bill analysis, and gender disaggregated data for use by civil society policymakers and the public. However, our findings highlight persistent challenges. Women remain significantly underrepresented, not just in numbers, but also in voice and influence. In contrast, women-led civil society organizations have demonstrated strong, visible advocacy, especially during public hearings on environmental justice and public accountability.
He's InfoQuest Liberia Executive Director Matthias Yene. They're speaking. And away from Liberia, at least 46 people waiting for aid have been killed by Israeli fire in two incidents in central and southern Gaza, according to rescuers and hospitals. UN agencies have condemned the US and Israel-backed food distribution system, with one official calling it an abomination and a death trap. Such deadly incidents have recently become a near daily occurrence, but have attracted relatively little attention outside Gaza since Israel attacked Iran more than a week ago. With vows, including the latest deaths, the UN has said that more than 410 Palestinians are reported to have been killed by the Israeli gunfire or shooting since the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation began work late May. At least 8 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured in Kenya Wednesday's anti-government protests, rights group said. Among those injured, 8 had gunshot wounds, with 83 others referred to specialized treatment, said the joint statement by the Kenya Medical Association, Law Society of Kenya, and Police Reforms Working Group. 3 of the injured were police officers. The Kenya Medical Association, Law Society of Kenya, and the Police Reforms Working Group have urged those still seen on the streets to exercise care to avoid further loss of their life and injury. The authorities are yet to confirm any casualties. Well, on that notice, I would like to go home this afternoon on this edition of King's News, on the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. But just before we go home this afternoon, let's remind you of stories went following. Chief Justice Yanayo Fanade turned 70 years this Thursday, June 26, marking the constitutional retirement age but vowed not to relinquish power until the closure of the Supreme Court in August. The remains of ex-President Samuel Kayando and late former First Lady Nancy Doe taken to Banjida County by the government of Liberia for final funeral and burial activities. At long last, the Supreme Court of Liberia sets July 1st as the date for legal argument of the former Finance Minister Samuel Tue and 4 other top government officials over $6 billion United States dollars and billions of Liberian dollars corruption case. And away from Liberia, at least 8 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured in Kenya's Wednesday's anti-government protests, rights group said. At least 46 people waiting for aid have been killed by the Israeli fire in two incidents in central and southern Gaza, according to rescuers and hospitals. These are stories we follow here this afternoon in King's News from Sam Andrews brought us the news bulletin, while Frank Bialuswen sat at controls and coordinated the sounds. On behalf of the entire production team, I would like to say many thanks to all of our correspondents, news editors, news writers who helped in making this package of sources. My name is Milton Tupa. I presented this edition of the program. Thanks for listening and watching. Good afternoon.